Hello and welcome to all of you. Thank you once again for joining us on this, our final of 6 sessions of the JCoR SDG Lab for the year 2024. And those who have been journeying with us throughout the last week will know that this series of discussions and sharing is a response to the recently concluded forum at the United Nations headquarters, which is the high-level political forum on sustainable development. And this conference was an opportunity for both governments and members of civil society from about 40 different countries to come together and make presentations about their national progress toward achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And as with each year's forum, there were 5 of the 17 SDGs that were selected as themes or priorities for this year. And so we have taken each of those 5 priority SDGs as our themes for these conversations here in the SDG Lab. And so today we have actually a special bonus session that is dedicated to SDG number 1, which is to eradicate poverty. And we expanded to a second session because there was so much interest among the members of our network and our delegation who are working on addressing poverty in different ways and who are very concerned with that aspect of the 2030 agenda. And so today we will have the opportunity to hear from a few more members of the global community of JCoR, which is the Justice Coalition of Religious, a group of 23 NGOs who are representing Catholic sisters, brothers, and priests at the United Nations. So before we hear from our speakers today, I would like to offer a brief introduction to help us understand a bit more about what is entailed, what is included in Sustainable Development Goal number 1. And the full form of the goal, when spelled out, is to end extreme poverty in all its forms everywhere. And this can be interpreted many ways because every nation has its own definition of poverty. And each one typically includes several aspects of people's lives, such as their household income or the cash that is available for their basic living expenses, as well as whether they have adequate food or adequate shelter. The United Nations defines extreme poverty as surviving on less than $2.15 in US dollars per person per day. And if current patterns persist, there's an estimated 7% of the global population, which is around 575 million people, who could still find themselves trapped in extreme poverty by the year 2030. A significant portion of those 575 million people would be living in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, many of the best-known measures for addressing poverty at the national level are a category of public policies and programs that we often refer to as social protection. And social protection measures are intended to help keep all people at a minimum standard of living that reflects their human dignity. And social protection programs could include a wide variety of objectives like cash transfers to ensure that every household has access to a certain minimum amount of money to spend on basic goods. Other programs involve the direct provision or discounts on food or housing. And these policies can take many forms. But unfortunately, more than half of the global population is still living without any such protection available to them or that they are accessing. So when we think about Sustainable Development Goal number 1, we are talking about a call for all nations to put these types of protection measures in place for their populations. This goal is also calling on national governments to invest in reducing their people's vulnerability to environmental disasters, which tend to impact those who are living in poverty in the most devastating ways. And finally, goal number 1 calls on all governments to ensure that all people in their nation enjoy equal rights and access to the ownership and control of land and other forms of property, inheritance, natural resources, and appropriate new technology and financial services, including microfinance. So with this as a foundation for our understanding of goal number 1, we can begin hearing from some of the members of JCoR's global community today. And we will do that by hearing first from a video recording presentation, which has been prepared for us by one of the members of our global community, Sister Margaret Murilli, who is a member of the Society of the Sacred Heart, also known as RSCJ. And she is sharing with us from her experience in ministry in Kenya, which is also her home country.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Margaret Murilli. I am the UN NGO representative of the Society of the Sacred Heart. Our congregation serves in about 45 countries worldwide, focusing primarily on the education of young people. We work in schools, health facilities, with migrants, in pastoral work, and in advocacy. I would like to share our contribution to the implementation of SDG 1 and the impact it has on other SDGs, particularly focusing on our work in Kenya. I chose this SDG 1 because the way it is stated no poverty, and given where we serve in Kenya, I feel it will really take time for us to say there will be no poverty. In fact, where we serve, especially in the informal settlements, it is a really pathetic situation. So we do serve in educational projects. In Kenya, our cooperative ministries are with the poor in informal settlement. In Nairobi, for example, we serve in an informal settlement called Kibera, the largest slum south of the Sahara, where many live in extremely poor situation. Our involvement began in 1992 with a small feeding program. One of our sisters, a social worker, initiated the program to rescue children off the streets. We provided them with breakfast, basic lessons, and lunch. This program evolved into informal education and later into a formal curriculum registered with the Ministry of Education. The project started with a few children and grew to a full school, which now has about 600 children, prioritizing both girls and boys below 18 years from the street. We faced challenges at the beginning, for example, challenges of feeding the children, and later on we started looking for donors. And we got donors who helped us with the feeding, giving us cereals, and especially the World Food Program. And UNICEF started giving us pulses to provide proteins for the children. We also found donors who funded extracurricular activities and staff salaries. Over time, the learning environment improved from mud classrooms to classrooms constructed with timber to permanent structures. Learning environment was improved by the help of an organization called CARE International. In the pictures seen below, we can see the previous structure, which was constructed using wood after the mud structure. And you can see the children who had left the streets after some years are transformed in the school, and they become real students and interested in learning. And so the program helps to uplift them from the situations they were in on the streets to what they are now. Children who are happy, able to play, smiling, and living more or less human life. We connected our school with others in the developed countries, with other schools of ours in the developed countries to raise tuition fees for students. We collaborated with the Jesuit fathers for high school admissions and also with the Opus Dei for university placements. Donors continue to support secondary and college education for our students. Our efforts helped many children leave the streets, protected them from hunger, and provided education, enabling some of them to move their families out of informal settlement after they started working. For those ready to move back to the villages, we provided seeds, fertilizer, and some alpine goats for milk. During the pandemic, we supported our parents' small businesses affected by economic disruptions. We partnered with various organizations, including World Food Programme, UNICEF, CARE International, and DKA, and worked closely with the Guadalupe Fathers in the parish to raise funds for various school projects. As donor support reduces, we encourage parents to contribute towards their children's education. We are hoping to expand and to begin a similar project in the western part of the country, in Eldoret. In response to challenges from tribal clashes of 2007 and 2008 that affected the country, we are setting up a similar project in Eldoret in Lanca's informal settlement to absorb the so many children who spend time on the streets. Here, we have realized that boys, you can meet small boys selling some little items in a town or in the markets. And when you ask most of them where they come from, they mention Langa slum, one of the biggest slums in Eldoret. The boys sell goods in markets, and some of them operate the motorbikes for transporting people, while girls stay at home and work as house girls or face early pregnancies due to idleness and lack of tuition fees. Many beneficiaries come from single mother families or extremely poor households. These projects serve as avenue to peace and reconciliation as children from conflicting communities learn how to live together peacefully. We have there an example of what we are going to extend to the western part of the country. We are building a school, an inclusive school, to serve the poor children from the Langa slum and other small slums around, and also to include children with the special capacities. In conclusion, through our educational projects, we contribute to reduction of poverty and hunger using the feeding program. We provide education and create opportunities for many children. Our partnerships and networking efforts have been crucial in sustaining and expanding these initiatives, demonstrating the power of collaboration in achieving SDG 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 16, and 17. It is through such projects that we feel we are able to participate in implementing the sustainable goals. Thank you.
While Margaret is not in the room with us, we extend our thanks to her for sharing that update and reflections on the many facets to this, well, at least two-part project of the Society of the Sacred Heart in two areas in Kenya, both Nairobi and Eldoret. And it is very impressive to hear about all of the different partners who have been integrated into this project over time, from entities at the UN like UNICEF and the World Food Program, to some perhaps natural partners from other congregations and faith-based groups like the Jesuits and the Guadalupe Fathers in the local parish, as well as other non-governmental organizations like CARE International. So this was clearly a team effort to provide such comprehensive services to attend to the many facets of poverty and to attend to the ways that those facets can interrupt education and can interrupt the pathway to opportunity, especially for this forthcoming school in Eldoret, which will be inclusive to children with disabilities and special needs who are facing even greater challenges to their future opportunities. So truly a wonderful and beautiful ministry that is being offered. Thank you very much to Margaret and to the Society of the Sacred Heart. And next, we will hear a video presentation from another member of our global community, which this will be offered by Brother Joel Gaspar Beltram, who is a Claretian missionary, and he will be speaking to us about the work of the Claretians and about his observations and experiences related to SDG 1 in Brazil. So now we will hear from Brother Joel.
Good morning to everyone. Greetings.
Parte
I'm Joel Beltrame.
Os claretianos, e hoje eu
I'm
estou
part.
aqui para compartilhar
I'm
com
here
cada um
to
de
share
vocês
with you
pouco
today
sobre a realidade
a bit
desse
about
OS
the
número 1 em nosso país,
reality
Brasil, e o que está
of
sendo
our
realizado
country,
para
Brazil,
superá-lo.
and what is being
Infelizmente, é
done
um
to
tema muito
overcome
difícil aqui no
things.
Brasil, por se tratar
Things
da
are very
grande
difficult
realidade da
here in
pobreza
Brazil.
e das
His
poucas
internet
mudanças
is
que
not good and
acontecem no
it's
decorrer dos
cutting a
anos,
lot.
independente dos estilos de governo,
So no matter
onde o que se
what
observa
styles of
é um
government
meio
we
de
have,
controle, uma forma
what
de
we see
manipular
is
e
that we
controlar
have
as pessoas, principalmente pelo voto,
forms of
na qual o que
manipulating and
acontece é um
controlling
simples
people.
assistencialismo e
And
mudanças de critérios para definir o que é a
there are
pobreza,
also changes
o
of
objetivo de maquiar
criteria to
a
define
verdadeira
what
realidade
poverty
do nosso
is.
país.
But what we
Porém,
need is
a
to define the
pobreza ela
real
continua
reality of
crescendo e fazendo
countries.
com que muitas e
But
muitas
poverty
famílias
is
sofram
growing
por não
and it
conseguirem
makes a lot of
para
families
sobreviverem.
suffer.
Para falar desse
To
OS,
talk
precisamos recordar
about
brevemente das
this
metas
topic,
que são
we
sugeridas,
have to
pois
remember
é
the goals that are
necessário
being
chegar em
suggested
2030 com
because we
muitas
have to
mudanças neste
reach
cenário. A pobreza
2030 with a
extrema
lot of
não pode
changes in
mais ser
this
aceita
scenario,
em nosso
and the
território
extreme
nacional e em
positive
todo o mundo, não é
poverty
verdade?
should not be part
Preciso
of our
diminuir
territory.
pela metade a situação da
We have
pobreza
to
e as
decrease
pessoas
by
precisam
half
de
the
sistemas de
situation of
proteção social
poverty,
que lhes
and we need
ajudem a
systems of
superar esta
social
realidade.
protection
Com isso, é
to
preciso tomar
improve
a
reality.
consciência de que somos todos iguais
So we
e
have to be
possuímos os
aware that
mesmos
we're
direitos.
also the same,
Ninguém é
all the
melhor que
same,
ninguém.
and we have
Precisamos
the
fazer
same
com que
rights.
todos
No one
superem
is
suas
better than
situações
anyone
de
else,
vida.
and
E,
we
por
have to
fim,
overcome
precisa ser
all of
criados
this.
marcos
And we
políticos
also
e
have to
garantizar
have
ao povo
political
a
actions
mobilização
so
significativa
that
de
the
recursos.
people can
Junto com tudo isso,
mobilize
não podemos
resources.
esquecer da palavra
Together
de
with all
Deus
this,
em
we cannot
Deuteronômio,
forget
que diz que
God's
os
word
pobres sempre haverão na
The
Terra.
poor
Porém,
will
precisamos
always
nos abrir para
be on
esses
earth,
nossos irmãos.
but we have to
Desta
open
forma,
ourselves to these
muitas
people.
coisas precisam ser
In this way,
realizadas.
a
E
lot of
como
things
estamos
have to
caminhando aqui no
change.
Brasil,
And as how we're journeying
aqui
here
no
in
nosso
Brazil,
país, temos alguns destes dados numéricos que estão
these are a
apresentados
few numbers that
no
are being
slide, que
presented
mostram a
on this slide,
realidade do nosso
and
país
these numbers
nos
show
últimos
the
anos.
reality of our country.
Se olharmos os números,
If
podemos
we
perceber
analyze
que as
these
coisas
numbers,
estão mudando.
we
Porém,
can see that
será que a
things
realidade é assim
are
mesmo?
changing,
Ou são
but
apenas números
is
lançados para
reality
maquiar a
like this,
realidade?
or is this
Uma
just
coisa que é
numbers?
muito comum
Are
em
these
nosso
just
país
numbers
é
and
o
not the truth?
assistencialismo.
One
O
thing which is
governo
very common in our
esmolas
country
para as pessoas que
is
estão na
what we
faixa da
call
pobreza e elas
people
se tornam
the government
consultores
gives a
do
bit of
governo.
money for those
Acabam
people
aceitando
in the
tudo
government, and
que
they
o governo
accept what the
propõe,
government gives them,
perdem o
they
senso
accept everything that
crítico
is
e não
proposed by
fazem
the
nada
government, and
para
they end
sair
up
das
by
suas míseras
voting for
zonas de
these
conforto.
people
Tudo isso
in the
é
government
com
again,
medo de
and
não
they don't
perder
do
essa
anything.
pequena quantidade de
They
dinheiro
are
que o
afraid of
governo
losing
proporciona
this
a essas
small
pessoas.
amount of money that
No
the government
entanto, é
gives to
preciso
these
criar
people. However,
possibilidades para fazer com que a
we have
pobreza
to
seja extinguida com o protagonismo de
try
cada
to
um. Não
extinguish
fazer
this
com que
type
as
of
pessoas
action
percam as suas
and
dignidades por uma mísera
not allow
quantidade
people to
de
lose
dinheiro.
their dignity for
Então,
a
se olharmos
miserable
as
amount of
notícias dos
charity.
últimos anos, podemos
So
perceber que por
we
dados
can notice
estatísticos, a realidade da
through the
pobreza
numbers,
historicamente
we
vem
can see the
diminuindo. Porém,
reality of
se
poverty
olharmos
in
as
Brazil.
nossas cidades,
But
olharmos as
if we
grandes metrópoles de nossos
look
países,
at the large cities
podemos
in
perceber
our
que a
country,
pobreza está aumentando.
we can
É muito
see that
grande a
poverty is
quantidade
in
de
fact
pessoas em situação de
increasing.
rua, que
We have a
dormem
lot of
e vivem
people
nas
living on the
calçadas. São
streets,
muito
living on the
grande a
sidewalks,
quantidade de favelas
and
e cortiços de
there are a
pessoas
lot
que
of
vivem em situações
shanty
precárias
towns
de
and
vida.
people who live in a very
No
precarious
entanto, no
situation of life.
relatório nacional voluntário
However, in the
apresentado na ONU
voluntary
neste ano,
report, which was
neste último mês
presented
de
in the
julho,
United
no que
Nations this
se
year
trata do ODS número
in
1,
July,
pode ser compreendido que a pobreza está mais intensificada nas
we
regiões
can
norte
see
e nordeste
that
de
the
nosso país,
poverty is
e que também
intensifying
está
in the
mais
north
afetada
and
na
the
população
northeast of the
negra,
country,
parda e nas pessoas que vivem nas áreas
especially
rurais.
brown people and
Porém,
people who live in
sendo
rural
tomadas várias
areas.
políticas públicas para
So
superar essas
several
emergências
public
nacionais,
policies
na
are
qual o país tomou
being
o
worked on
compromisso de
to
reduzir
overcome poverty.
0,4% de pobreza em cada
The goal
ano.
is
Para
to
conseguir
reduce
alcançar essa meta estipulada
0.4%
até
up to
2030.
2030 in
Assim,
every
vem sendo
year.
desempenhada uma importante posição
And
na redução da
this
pobreza
is
e da
an
fome,
important
bem como
position
foco na primeira
to reduce
infância, que é o
poverty, to
principal.
reduce
E fato
famine.
esse que caminha com outros dois ODSs, o
This
3
goes
e o
together with
4,
two
que
other
tratam da
SDGs,
saúde e
number
da
3 and
educação,
4, which has to
respectivamente.
do with health and
Como
education.
claretianos, não ficamos para trás nesta triste realidade que é a pobreza.
So
O
this
compromisso
sad
com a
reality,
Igreja
which is
é muito
poverty,
vivo em nosso
the
país
commitment
para
of the
superar
church
a
is
pobreza.
very much
São
alive in our
realizados
country to
frentes de
overcome
trabalho nas
poverty.
paróquias, em pastorais sociais,
And
em
we
obras
have
sociais, na
social,
educação e
pastoral
também
social
em vários
works,
institutos
education,
católicos que são
and
voltados para
several
a
Catholic
pobreza com
institutes
o objetivo de
that
proporcionar aos
their
seres
goal
humanos
is
a
to
dignidade humana e
give
ajudá-los
back
a sair desta
human
situação
dignity
degradante que é a
and
pobreza.
help
Dos
them get
diversos
out of this
trabalhos
degrading situation, which is
Clariana,
poverty.
destacamos o Instituto Claré,
We
muito
highlight the
estudo vem
institution
realizando
CLADE.
um trabalho desde crianças até adultos, com o
This institute has
objetivo de
been working with children
conscientização,
and adults,
formação, educação
with
e
working
principalmente
with
de
transport, with
proporcionar a cada
education,
a
and giving
dignidade
to
de vida.
each
Um
of
trabalho
these
que vem sendo
people their
realizado em
dignity.
diversas
This work
frentes
has
de
been
atuação e
carried
que
out
hoje chega a um grande número de
in
pessoas
several
que conseguiram
areas.
superar essas
So
situações de
in this
pobreza
way,
e
we are able
conseguiram
to
e
make
conseguem
quite a number
modificar
of
as
people
suas vidas.
overcome the
E que
situation
hoje
of
também
poverty.
ajudam outras e outras pessoas
And
a sair
we
da
also
situação da
help
miséria e sonhar
other
por um mundo
people
cada vez melhor.
so that they can
Dessa
dream
forma,
about a better
encerro a
life.
minha apresentação
This is what I
mostrando
had to
que
say in
muito
my
ainda temos
presentation,
que trabalhar para
showing
superar
you
essa
that still a
realidade do
lot
nosso
has to
país.
be done
Porém,
to be able
com o
to
trabalho de
overcome the
cada
reality of our
podemos
country.
perceber que é
With
possível e que
hard work,
podemos viver
we
um
can
mundo
notice that
de
it is
acordo
possible,
com o sonho de
and
Deus para
we
cada
can
um de
have
nós.
a
Muito obrigado.
world according to God's dream. Thank you very much.
And again, though he is not in the room, we're very thankful to Brother Joel for sharing that
Ele não
analysis
está,
and that reflection. And we appreciate especially his attention to the report that was submitted by the government of Brazil to this year's high-level political forum. And particularly his observation of some of the important and concerning trends that exist with respect to poverty in Brazil. He identified for us particular regions, the North and the Northeast, that are seeing an intensification of poverty. And not only that the trend is regional, but also that it is having a deeper impact on people of color in those regions and on people who are living in the most rural parts of those regions. And I suspect that in many of the countries where this community is in ministry, we would find similar trends that are worthy of our attention when we are seeking to remedy where government falls short in this motto or this theme of the Sustainable Development Agenda, which is that we should leave no one behind and to reach the furthest behind first. And he also spoke of a certain level of, we'll say, philosophical or conceptual maturity that is required to achieve the kind of political commitment and social commitment that we need as societies to truly accept the fact that all people are equal and have equal rights. And only when we are committed to that idea and that philosophy can we truly pursue justice for everyone. And a third point that was very important in this presentation from Brother Joel that struck me was a certain need for more independent sources of information about what is possible in terms of public services and social protections, so that populations are not intimidated or manipulated into thinking that the present offerings, the present programs that are available are the best that the government can do or the best that the nation can do, and that only the present government is able to achieve even that much, such that they should just be trusted and reelected because if they are not, the people will lose even the little that they are being offered now. So a strong vote there for an independent voice from among the people to help bring alternate ideas into the public discourse. And I think we have been hearing that as a theme from throughout our many sessions of this lab, that one of the valuable roles of faith leaders in communities that are experiencing a great deal of poverty is to have an alternate voice, is to provide information that is not being readily provided from government or from public media sources, and to really ask valuable and analytical questions about the difference between the way things are and the way things could be and ought to be. And so that's another observation that has come forward from Brother Joel's sharing. So thank you very much to him and to the Claretian missionaries for all the work that they are doing in Brazil. And our third presenter for today will be joining us from Peru. And so we are very pleased now to welcome into the room Jose Bayardo Chata, who is a partner of the Mary Knoll Fathers, Brothers, and Sisters in Peru, and who works in a team with a few other members who have participated in JCoR's delegation this year, including Ms. Yolanda Flores and Mr. Cristobal Yugra Villanueva. And Jose will be speaking on behalf of all of them, who are team members together at a Mary Knoll sponsored ministry in Peru, which is known as DUMA, which is an abbreviation for Derechos Humanos y Medio Ambiente, or Human Rights and the Environment in Peru. So I would now like to give the floor to Jose to share his observations and experiences from his country. Jose?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And hello everybody. Yes, so I've already been introduced. So we at Derechos Humanos y Medio Ambiente, we work in the accompaniment of indigenous people in Peru. I would like to share this presentation. Our main work is with indigenous people in extractive context, so minority, basically. We can go next slide. So here we have the national context where we work. This is a map of social conflicts currently happening in our country. We can see that both in the mountain area, but also in the north, next to the Amazon area, social conflicts are more important. Politics, political factors in society in general. And for example, we can see in Puno, in the area in the south of Peru, together with Cusco in red here, and Nakurima in orange. So these are the areas where we can find more conflicts. Why? Because we have a lot of mines in that area. Social conflicts happen in this context because there is a social reaction, an opposition to these minery activities in the next slide. So we can see a an important percentage here. Next slide. Next, please. Yes. So yes, here we can see that 100% of social conflicts, this is the total amount, so 56% finds its origin in social and environment reasons. So most of the problems in this situation has to do with both society and environment. These are official data from Ombudsman, and we can see that almost 60% of social problems in Peru find their origins in social and environmental. Next. So out of 56% of these conflicts, more than 60% find its origin in mining, in extracting. So we could say that mines are the origin for many conflicts in our territories, both at the national level, but especially in the south and in the Andean area. Minery plays a crucial role in many conflicts together with oil. So if we put together this 24%, which is about oil mainly, especially in the Amazon, plus 63% of mining, we can see that almost 90% or 80% actually finds its origin in extraction, so mining and oil together. So of course, all of this is due to an imposition of all these mining activities in indigenous areas, both in the Amazon and in the Andean area. Unfortunately, indigenous people have to suffer all these activities that are imposed. All these communities in the Andean area and in the Amazon suffer all these activity. And as we see this imposition of other kinds of lifestyle, the reaction is a natural reaction. So the imposition, of course, will have a response. And people ask to have their rights respected. And here we have the Convention 106.9 of the ILO. That allows us to to ask for the recognition of indigenous peoples. This is a very important legal tool that was ratified in 95 in Peru, so it's more than almost 30 years. But so far, we are not seeing that it's been completely implemented. So, for example, rights as prior consultations, autodetermination, respect of cultural identity. These are rights that are not being respected in Peru. And we, Derechos Humanos en Medio Ambiente, we've been to court and we are discussing these kinds of subjects. We are 3 lawyers networking with also with international lawyers in order to have all this implemented. Quechuas and Aymaras, whenever there is mining incursion, most of them, they don't know what to do. Who should they talk to? So, of course, the first reaction is to have demonstrations. And of course, this is a fundamental right that our courts recognize. But unfortunately, the state is saying that demonstrating is not allowed. And right now, some people, both men and women, are being brought to court because they've been demonstrating. We have seen this persecution as in many other countries, of course. So we are looking for the solutions to this problem. We are saying that people should demonstrate because it's a right, but we have also seen the response. And of course, this is very difficult to deal with. We have used what we know as lawyers, and we have actually brought the Ministry of Mines to court, and we have had many different progresses, because we've seen that a court has said the right to consultation is there in our country. Of course, the ILO Convention 169 is there in our country, and we should respect it. So, of course, all these things that have been done without the population knowing was not legal in our country, and this has been recognized. Everything should be informed, done in good faith and in an intercultural way. Here we can see the interculturality. I have Quechua and Aymara blood, and very often we cannot understand each other, actually, and we live amongst racist people and amongst exclusive people. We think that imposing these kind of projects in the Amazon and in the Andean has, of course, a racist part, because these people are not treated equally. With this prior consultation, we want to avoid many conflicts because we would like to create dialogue. So often the community realizes when they are already working on the mines, they don't know what to do. They talk to the regional government and they ask, what can we do? They have no answer, because it's just a few lawyers working on this kind of subjects, on this ILO Convention 169. It's not something people talk about. It's not like a civil or penal law. So there's no way to respond to that. We have created this, and we have seen many results. So going to court, so it's actually a judge. It's in court that they say what we should do. And we are trying to have this environmental justice having effects on people. This is the work we have here in Derechos Humanos y Medio Ambiente. We go to communities and we tell them, you have this ILO Convention 169, and you need to know that. You need to know that by heart. This is the tool. This is your tool. And with this, you can go wherever you want. And nobody will tell you you're wrong or you're dumb. No, because you are informed. And this way you will be able to defend yourself. As adult people, we need to know these tools. And once we have this convention, they say, Jose, let's go to court. Yeah, we need to defend our territories. They are watching our territories because they want to come. Because this map of mines, next, please, next slide. Here, this is something we can only watch on the internet. And in these areas, they don't have internet. Here we see in blue and in green, these are all mines. These are all mines in the mountains. And it's impossible for the communities to realize about all this, but we are telling them, and they are telling me, Jose, what can we do? How can we fight? So if there's nothing to do, let's go to court. So we are empowering these communities. And we are reinforcing these communities and their rights. We think that if all indigenous people know this document and uh, they had lawyers, they could advocate for their rights and defend themselves. If we manage to get that, Duma would disappear because we would have nothing to do. But we want to help these people that are so vulnerable because we want to defend the territories. And next slide now. Of course, here we can see all the pollution. This is Lake Titicaca. This is the biggest sailing lake in between Bolivia and Peru. Here in red and orange, we can see all the rivers arriving to Lago Titicaca, but they are all polluted. We have toxic metals that are originated in the mountains. And what do we have there? Mines, of course. So the rivers are being polluted. And the fight of these people is not only about Pachamama, it's not about the earth, but it's about themselves because they are drinking this polluted water. All this creates anemia, for example. Anemia is the worst illness in Peru. We have babies 0 to 30 months with anemia and toxic metals in their bodies. Anemia is not just about iron you eat. It's also about the water you drink. These fights of these people is not just about water and earth, but also about health, about integrity. And a judge told us, because it's for dignity. A person that does not have access to these basic services and is drinking poisoned water has no dignity. So this fight is to advocate for all this. And this is, I finish with this. Yesterday, we had the National Day, Fiestas Patrias, the independence of Peru, 203 years. And so far, indigenous people still have their rights violated. What we had in the colonies, the Republic did the same. And now it's the same. The government is killing these people. Mrs. Boluarte is killing its people, but also it's killing the people due to pollution. We can see these rivers. We can see the mining river and the natural river and how they mix, or the animals, they are drinking this water and then humans eat these animals. So social justice has an agenda of political justice. If state structure doesn't change, this is going to keep on. And people have understand that now we have to fight in a political level. And now we should include in our agenda this question, this political justice question. And I think this is a great progress. We are so proud of it, because the population does not talk about environment and health only, but also about the structure, the government. This is where our our work focuses. So we have this this way to influence in decisions, and we try to be ambitious in order to get these structural changes for the people. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention. This was my presentation, the web presentation we have prepared. And thank you very much for this opportunity. See you soon.
Thank you, Jose. And it is an honor to hear from you and to work with you, because this is truly essential and beautiful work you are doing, as you say, to bring together the concerns for not only related to poverty, but to notice the ways in which the poverty and the health of Pachamama, the Mother Earth, is very much integrated with the integrity and the dignity of all of us, humans and other animals alike, and how these efforts must be integrated. And certainly the work that you are doing to ensure that people know that they have the right to speak up and to defend themselves and to defend Pachamama is a critical foundation to establishing a Peru in which an organization like Duma is not necessary anymore. And the way you have stated that tells me you have your hearts in exactly the right place, because your goal, your hope, unlike the hope of, say, a mining company or an oil company, your hope is not to continue to do this work forever or to continue to occupy this space forever, but truly you hope to create a world in which you are no longer necessary, because the people know their rights. They know the ways in which they can claim and uphold their own dignity and to demand what is rightfully theirs through structures of the state that respect their rights to clean water, their rights to clean soil, and to really bring together, as you said, social justice and political justice, so that everyone can live in good health and have what they need. So your work is amazing, and especially to reach out to places where there is not an abundance of information, where there is not regular internet access, so that people can know about rights or about how widespread the operations of mining are, to know how vast the problem and the challenge is. This role of sharing information is just so critical. And another theme that we have been hearing throughout our SDG Lab sessions is to share good news, in a way, as we talk about with the Gospels, to share the good news of, in this case, the good news of an ILO convention is part of the good news that we are called to share as communities of faith. So thank you again for your excellent work, and thank you as well for taking the time to share it with all of us. And so now we have heard from all of our speakers or presentations for today, of whom Jose is the one who is with us in the room. So I would now like to invite all who are here, if you have any comments that you would like to share in response to what you have heard, or if you have any questions for Jose in particular, I would like to invite you to share them with us, which you may do by raising your hand. If you have your camera on, you can raise your actual hand, or if you want to use the digital hand, you can find it underneath your reactions button, which has a little smiling face. Or if you do not see that, just go to your More button and you should see the option to raise hand. And that's another way that you can get our attention. And if you would like to put a question into our chat box, I will also look there and I will share any question that I see in the chat box out loud. Okay, I will start with, I see one question in our chat box. And so I believe this is for you, Jose. The question is, do the multinational mining companies and extraction companies around the world hear our voices and the cry of the people? Do they see the harm they are causing to humans and to the whole of creation? And added to that question is also a word of thanks for your courage in responding to this huge issue. So Jose, would you like to respond to that with regard to the awareness of mining companies?
Unfortunately, no, they don't have this social vision. I think Western culture, especially with liberalism, prioritizes money. And these companies have this vision. Everything that is taking the soul of the earth and emptying our earth, our soil, is what they are doing. I think this fight for the earth has not finished, and people say that they have taken off from our hands our land, our earth, but we are still there after colonialism, after more than 500 years. We are all out there now. New colonialism are these mining companies. They are extracting from the soil what they need in order to get richer and richer. We don't see an engagement, a real engagement from companies, because otherwise, many years ago, they would have engaged with the ILO Convention 169. Yeah, they all know about it, but they have big teams of lawyers and professionals. And of course, they know about it. Of course. they have a responsibility because they are responsible because they know that many people don't know about this ILO convention, and there is no justice. And of course, this is an abuse because the people don't know about it. And we were saying that the worst enemy of dignity is poverty, because they uh, give a lot of money. They know I've I've never seen $100,000, for example, and how for them is nothing. They have all that money. For companies, that's nothing. They pay that for land, and of course, then they earn way more money. So of course, it's not equal. This relationship is not equal. And we see injustice there, and we see poverty once again, because of course, these indigenous people suffer from poverty. Human rights are completely missing there. We have not seen any company saying, yes, I am going to respect all these terms. No, from the from the very beginning, at least they said the truth, it would be already something, but they never do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Yes, a fundamental difference, the motivation for profit as opposed to the motivation for some tangible good, something that is real and good, in the way that you are seeking things like dignity, peace, well-being, good health, different goals entirely. And I see the hand of Efrain Chirinos. Efrain, please.
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? So, hello, Teresa, and hello, everybody here today. Everything that has been shared has been wonderful. And today we are talking about poverty, about ending poverty. I think this is a utopia. And it's nice to see how we're treating that. I also work in the Amazon area, and this is an area that is so vulnerable, where we can see all these problems with human rights. So no poverty, what does it mean? Does it mean killing the poor people? So there will be no poor people, of course. Or does it mean to look for good things for these vulnerable peoples? Because, and why I'm saying this, because in some NGOs and companies, etc., they've tried to end with some indigenous peoples. For example, uh, looking for the well-being of women people. Well, yeah, they put something inside them so they cannot get pregnant. And so in some communities where there used to be a lot of babies, now there are no babies. Very strange illnesses, for example. So what does it mean ending poverty? It's important to know what we understand by ending with poverty. So mining, we know it's terrible. prostitution, ending with nature, ending with all the structures. This is terrible. And this is not ending poverty. This is increasing it. And so in the Amazonian area, we see that big companies are putting at risk this promotion of dignity and value of life, both of human beings of our planet. We are living very difficult times, and this is a monster we are facing in the Amazon area, and in many people in many places around the world. So we need to get prepared. We need to be prepared. We need to have training. Where are we advocating? Where are we bringing them to court? Where are we at the global level? This is a reflection we need so that we can really occupy our time in this, because sometimes theories, concepts might be really nice, very romantic, but when we need to go into action, yeah, that's not always easy.
Thank you very much, Efren. And I think that last point will be a great transition to, I think, the question we are going to hear from the next person to speak, who is Anita Cheria, who is our JCoR coordinator in South India. Anita, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentations. And it really struck a chord because I think the indigenous communities across the world are facing similar issues. It's not as though we don't have rules in our country or in the state or internationally, but the power equation is so contrasting that it's very difficult to negotiate. So my question was also, what are the risks you face? In my last many years of experience, anybody who has taken a strong stand against the mining lobby is at a lot of risk. So as religious and also as social activists, as individuals, how do you tackle or support, build on your security or risk management, even involving community leaders? Because at least as religious, we part of a community or part of an organization, the indigenous community itself is even more vulnerable. So how do you build that strength and do risk mitigation in any way possible? I don't expect a perfect answer, but I'd be interested to know how you work around it.
May I answer?
Sí, por favor.
Yes, so it's true. For example, forced sterilizations, for example, this is true in Peru. This has happened as well. So how to end poverty? Well, just killing the poor. Yeah, well, this is something they've tried. The Spanish, the colonizers, when they arrived, they tried it. And the population, of course, we saw genocides in this area of the global south and also in other continents, as you were saying. This is something we've seen all around. But we think that now they are trying to cancel their cultures of the people. So ILO Convention 169 applies to all indigenous peoples. And in many places, we've seen, no, you are not an indigenous people because you have computers. No, you are not dressing as indigenous people. You go to university, you have a master's degree, you have a PhD. You are not indigenous people. You don't live in the community. You've migrated to Lima, to the States, to Europe. You are not indigenous people. We have seen that this is an attack by the state, by governments, by companies. They are saying, no, there are no indigenous people. No, so ILO Convention 169 doesn't make any sense. We see that eliminating people is also that. And of course, that's racism. Indigenous people should be wearing, I don't know, what they used to wear, so, you know, some leaves, some banana leaves and these kind of things. It, of course, illiteracy, we cannot go to university because, of course, we are not indigenous people this way. Can't I migrate? Maybe look for other opportunities in other places. So is that a condition? Am I losing my identity if I do so? We see the system is also influencing there. We could think this is something, yeah, not important, but it's very important for our peoples. You, Jose, you don't have rituals for the earth. You don't speak Quechua or Aymara. Who are you? And who are you to tell me who am I? I know who my family is. I know who my parents, my grandparents, etc. I know them. So that's my blood. You can't tell me that I'm losing my identity because of this and that. No, this is a way of canceling our culture. Maybe this is something you see in your countries as well. And what my brother was saying, so yes, fighting in this context is pretty dangerous. Yes, we can see a lot of violence. We have seen a lot of violence against NGOs, and we always use the word terrorist, environmental terrorist. He's an anti-system advocate. So yes, it's true that we see all this, but thank God we have not seen other problems here in Puno. We think that our main weapon is being well known amongst the people that fight for human rights, because of course this is that means we are exposed, but that's a good thing. We see that many of these problems happen in the Amazon area because nobody sees that. Nobody sees that. So we need to be seen. We need to be heard. We need to create this dialogue. And that creates security for us, I think. It's true that it's my own family tell me, what are you doing? It's dangerous. Anytime they can send someone and that will kill you. Well, yeah, but I hope that young people can see that this is possible, that we can fight, and that we need this courage. We need to share that it's possible. It's just a few of us, but we are doing a lot. And that's a lot for this time that we are living in. And of course, the solidarity we feel from you, you are with us in our fight. And we can go to the peoples and say, yes, here we are. They have not killed us.
Thank you for your comments, Jose. And truly, I can understand why your family feels some fear for you, and I'm sure you feel it too in your own work, because though you choose to do work that requires courage, it does not mean you have no fear, and perhaps that is the more true meaning of courage, is to do what is right even when you are afraid to do it. And you make a great point that so much of the suffering in the indigenous communities where you are working, and in so many parts of the world, part of the suffering is that it is invisible to most people outside of the community. And because it is invisible, it is allowed to persist. Or when communities are suffering, they can be quietly attacked or quietly oppressed, and no one will bear witness to that. And so in a way, elevating our visibility and elevating our voices, though it may seem that it is putting us in greater danger in some ways, in some contexts, that is also a source of security. So it's a complex reality, but the challenges that we are called to address are certainly complex. So our response must also be. Are there other questions or comments that anyone would like to bring forward? Yes, Sister Franca, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I'm back safely in London, so it's nice to be here and to see us all this afternoon. I want to acknowledge what Sister Margaret shared about the work with the street children, and also what Brother Jose shared about, the government giving miserable stipends to gain votes. This, for me, are real life experiences. Last year in Nigeria, there was campaigning, to elect new governments. And I was asking young people in my family, who are you going to vote for? Oh, they once said, oh, I'll vote for APC. I said, why do you have to vote for APC? He said, well, I get 10,000 naira every month at least. And 10,000 naira is less than $1 or £1. So what does that? Does that help you to train your children to put food on the table and things like that? So that calls for, again, the kind of work that our brother in Peru is doing, grassroots advocacy, to really help people to learn to work for long-term sustainability instead of short-term things that just provide them with little intermittent relief. About the work with street children, in Nigeria, at least I know, it's not just famine, flood, or fire that is the cause of poverty. Some kind of cultural and traditional practices pushes children out on the street. In 2012, I did a study of why so many Nigerian children were found on the street. Some of the things I discovered were issues of property rights. Uncles did not want their male nephews to grow up in the family because they would be squabble about land. In polygamous family, either the second wife or the second husband does not want a child to grow up because there will be a struggle in the family. And then, of course, the accusation of witchcraft. Any children that acted differently, maybe with disability, maybe an intelligent child that is curious and like to ask questions, was termed a witch. and thrown out into the street. So it's not, we do a lot of good things, taking those children off from the street, like, one of our sisters, Olivia, is doing in Kumasi. But we also need to go deeper into changing the systemic causes, that push children out onto the street. Otherwise, we will have to be struggling all our life, trying to help children, to educate them, and yet they have to return back into this kind of traditional situations, that impede their redemption or impede their growth or impede their transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Franca, for lifting up another component of legal or policy frameworks that have a very significant impact on poverty, even from childhood. In your example, that growing up in a situation of poverty where there is perhaps difficulty to inherit land or difficulty to hold on to land or protect it, especially where there are corporate interests that are willing to pay a very high price to obtain land. That entire component or sector of our policy frameworks can really put restrictions and limits on possibilities for good life and for full family life in so many places. So thank you for highlighting another thread into our tapestry of understanding around the complex reality that is poverty. Are there any other comments or questions that anyone would like to share? Then I will ask Jose, do you have any final word that you would like to share, since you are our only live speaker who is here with us in the room? Is there any last word you would like to share?
Thank you, Teresa. Of course, these are long-lasting fights. This was not created yesterday. Of course, we've had some progresses. Sometimes they were saying, yes, you're right, these ILO convention exist, but in many other places, the judge told me, where can we see that these are indigenous people? So yes, you cannot ask for this because these are not indigenous people. We've seen many different answers. So of course, we have to keep on working. We have to keep on fighting. And this is what we've learned from Sister Patricia Ryan, the president of our association. And I think she has taught us this symbol of what we can do, because she's always encouraging us. And I think we have realized that we have this courage and this preferential option for human beings, and having this so before we were we had another bishop, and when this bishop arrived, he told, yes, so in church we have to have mass and that's all, no social working, no social nothing. And yes, so it's true, but some congregation really want to make the difference, and that's the church, that's the real church. That's why the church was born with Jesus. Unfortunately, there are some other options in the church that show us that they are destroying these parts of the church that try to fight for poor people. We can think that it's impossible, but of course, if we do nothing, it will be impossible. Thank you very much again for your invitation, and thank you from Puno, to all brothers and sisters. Thank you once again for the possibility to talk here, Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. And your last words reminded me of our gospel reading for yesterday, even the idea of, you know, when and where church exists. And in our reading yesterday, which of course the very well-known feeding of the 5,000 with the fishes and loaves, reminds us as one of many stories that remind us that church is out on the hillside and among the people, and it is about making real the idea that there is enough for everyone to do well and to be well in this world, but we need to be out among the people and not only professing faith that it is possible for everyone to enjoy well-being and to live in dignity, but also to be doing the work and to be facilitating the redistribution of resources, and to also be, I think, inspiring each other to be part of that effort in a long-term way. So I hope that not only in this session, but throughout the 6 sessions of this JCoR SDG Lab, that each of us has had an opportunity to have some sense of renewed hope in the accompaniment of one another in this work of redistributing the gifts that are available to us on this earth, and the work of raising our voices where there is suffering, and to know that we are in this work together, and that we can be a church that exists inside cathedrals and in mass and in ritual, but also out on a hillside and in a slum in Kenya, and in indigenous communities in Peru, and in the rural areas of the Amazon in Brazil. We are more community than we are institution. So thank you all for coming together and to be that community, which in addition to all those places can also exist online and in Zoom rooms, as perhaps unromantic as that image may be. But I'm grateful for the chance to connect with all of you in this way, to learn from all of you in this way, and I look forward to more opportunities to do so in the future. So thank you very much for your participation, and thank you as always for the many different ways that you are all contributing to sustainable development in your own communities and within structures at every level. Thank you so very much. And thanks to our interpreters as well, who have accompanied us on this journey. And I look forward to connecting with you all again soon.